Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat. And we've got another Southern Dog Club database project lesson, and this time we're going to take our screen forms and add some really nice images into them to make them finished off and looking really professional. Now remember, I'm a bit of a slow talker, so best that you change the video speed. On the player bar, if you go to the tools cog, you can get to play speed. Click on this arrow here and pick 1.5 or 1.75. And you'll probably find the video flows a lot better, so that's what you need to do there. And the other thing is this is going to be a long lesson, so do it in sections, and you might finish at a section and need to take a break, and then you can use this video timeline index, which is in the video description, and come back and click on a particular blue number here, and the video will start from that point, so you can continue from where you're up to. So we suggest that if you find it too long, just stop and have a break and come back later. All right, so the overview in this lesson. So real world databases, they always have not just the database information with some fields and contents, but they always have a picture. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So we need to get some pictures onto our screen forms too, because that is an important skill for database development. And we created this dogs form. That's where we're up to at the end of the last lesson. So you need to have done the lesson on creating forms so that you know a bit about forms already, and that's the one we created, and that's going okay. And in this lesson, we're going to finish it off and get an image down in this gap here, and also do a couple of other modifications as well. So the dogs form will finish up looking like this. A drum roll, please. And there it is. Okay, so we've got our image in there, a nice little border around it. And we've made these background rectangles so that you can kind of separate the dog information from the member information. And because the member information isn't quite as important, the focus on this is the dog screen. We've made the background of this kind of a really light blue, and this one's kind of a purpley color, so it's not as intense. So some very sort of subtle things going on with the colors here as well to bring your attention to this part of the form, which is what we're looking at for the dogs. All right, and as you flick through the records, you'll be able to see all of the different pictures, and we might just show you that to you right now. Okay, so here we are in the Southern Dog Club database, the finished database, what it'll look like when it's finished. And there we've got our dogs form. And you see we can flick through and we get all the images of the dogs, and it's all very nice and very professional. We've got our drop-down list from that previous lesson as well in there. So this is our finished, really professional form, okay? And that's it. And we're also going to take the members form, not quite as much work on that, but the thing on there is to just add pictures for that as well. So we kind of have an image of each member in the club. Okay, so we're going to be doing that, working on the members form as well. All right, so we'll also include the members form and get a nice image on that as well. All right, so in this training lesson, we're going to do the following. We're going to unlink the form grouping so that we can modify and move individual fields around, because at the moment they're actually all linked together, and that's not going to work for fitting the picture image in properly. And we'll reference a computer folder that's storing all of our images. So image files are too big when you've got a lot of them. Think about the database for Bunnings hardware that has 55,000 different products. If you want to have images for them, you cannot store something like that in a database. So we kind of do it a bit like links on web pages. We kind of link to where the picture actually is in a folder on our computer, and we don't actually put it directly into the database. We just go and get it as we need it for each record, and we're going to be doing that. And we'll be creating that picture box on the form and link that to the location in our actual Windows folder where the picture is. So at runtime, as we're flicking through, it can go find that picture from the folder and place that picture, bring it in onto the form. And you will repeat steps 1, 2, and 3. You guys will do the image on the members form. All right, we'll do the dogs form. You can do the members form. Now, we're also going to put those colored background rectangles in as well, because that kind of looks good too, as an extra step there at the end. So in this training, the start database you'll need something with obviously the data for the members and the dogs, and the form, the basic form. So if you've been doing our course and you're up to date and you just did the combo boxes on forms lesson, you can use that database from where you're up to in the course. Otherwise, if you're just doing this as an isolated lesson, just to learn about images and how to have background rectangles to divide a form up and things like that, well, then you can get the form images start database, which is in the downloads file. So there's also step-by-step instructions. You get a big PDF of them, and you'll get some sample images. Not all of the images, but we'll explain that later. Some sample images to use and the finished database as well. So you can see what the end project looks like if you're having difficulty while building your project. The detailed steps you need to do to add an image onto a form. So we'll get started now, and here we go. You need to create space on the form where the image needs to be located. So on our forms, it's going to be pretty simple. We've already got room on the dogs form, and the members one will just stretch a bit to the right to make some room. But sometimes you might have to shuffle fields around to create the space as well. We're going to create a folder, just a normal Windows folder, and place all of the images we need into that folder. And then we'll need to capture the pathway to that folder on our computer, and we'll show you how to do that. We're going to have a field in the table. So in the table, we've got a field already called image location. If you didn't have that, you would just create a new field in Design View and add it onto your table. And that's where we're going to put where the path specification and exact location on the computer of the image is. And that's step 4. And step 5, we create the picture box container on the form, and we just load it with an initial image. And that initial image will be there for all of the records, the same image. But what we do is in Design View, we're going to use the Arrange tab and remove layout so we can make space to make the image a bigger size and make it look better. Resize the picture box to fill the empty space properly. Then we use the Row Source Data tab to actually link up the picture box we've got on our form to the table that has that long pathway address to where the actual image is located on the computer. And it can go and fetch that image, just like when you're building web pages, the web page will go and fetch information and bring it into the page and display it to you, all right? So if you've done web design, this will all make sense. If you haven't, that doesn't matter, because we're going to fully explain it as we go anyway. So open up that start database, and we need to get the members dogs form open up first. So you should be able to open the start base, make sure you're on all access objects here, double click on members dogs, and that should load up. That's what you should see come up from the start database or from your previous project. And you can see we've left space down there to have an image added in, a kind of a long ways landscape image put in there. So we don't have to make space on the form, we've got it already. Now the pictures file, you need to get the pictures you got from the downloads and get them all into one folder on your computer. All right, now the member images, you need Andy, Juanita, Desiree, Nikki, Alicia, and Kylie. Although you'll find out at the end of the lesson, we do the members form, we actually came up with some different images because some of these were stock images which we cannot supply to you under the stock licensing agreement. But we've got images for all 6 members that we can give to you, which you can use. And the dog images, we don't have images just for all of those dogs. You might have to get some yourself off the internet, but there's 10 dog images altogether. And this is the ones that we're just using initially to demonstrate the lesson to you, all right? So some of these are stock images like this, Lenny the Labrador, this one with the owner, and this one with the owner, and this beautiful one here that was on the front of the screen, and Cindy. They're all stock images, so we can't give them to you, but we do have all 6 member images. We got some from Photos by Passy, our other business, which we can give to you. We can give you our dog, Murphy, and we can give you some, we got some Rottweiler dogs, I think, as well, and maybe another dog as well that we can give you pictures of. Yeah, we've got D-Mac, the sheepdog. That's a friend of ours' dog who's a photographer and took some good pictures of D-Mac. So we've got that. So you will be able to get images. What you can't get, you can just get off Google Images and use. So don't worry too much about the images. That's not a big drama. We'll give you most of them, say 70% of them, the downloads. You just get the rest off Google Images. Now notice on these images, the way we've chosen them and the way they're going to fit on our forms best, for when we have a dog image here like Cindy the Dachshund, that needs to be a long ways landscape picture. We did talk about landscape and portrait in a previous lesson when we did reports, actually, for report orientation, and see how the ones of the actual members are all going to be Longways portraits. Now, we're giving you those ones in the download, so you don't have to worry. They will all be Longways portraits. But if you're getting your own dog image to use for one of the dogs, it needs to be an acrossways, okay, landscape type picture, and try and have them all pretty much the same size, because that's going to work best in that space that we've got on the form. All right, now we need to get the file path to that folder. So you've got all your images together. You've got the ones we had from the downloads folder for you. You've got some other ones off Google Images. You put them all in one folder. So we just put ours in this folder on our E drive called L7 Form Images. So we just made a new folder under Southern Dog Club, L7 Form Images. Just put all the JPG images in there. All right, now we need to get the path name. This shows you where it is when you navigate down your folders in Windows Explorer. But if you click in there, just click in this empty space at the end of that path name, and it'll give you the actual kind of backslash path name. And that's the one we need. So you click in this end part here, it goes blue and highlights it for you, and then you can just Control-C and Control-V that path into a Word doc or a PowerPoint. So we've just taken that. When we clicked in the end here, right, Windows already highlighted it for us, so we just went Control-C to get a copy of it. Then we came back to our PowerPoint here and we just Control-V'd it in here, because we're going to have to Control-C and Control-V it out of here into the table, and that's, I think, going to be the next step. So that's step one, getting them all in one folder, getting the path name of that folder. And so double click on the Member Dogs table. Now, we made a field previously called Dog Image Location, but we're going to have to stretch it out really wide. Remember how you hover over here with your mouse? Just move your mouse there, get the double arrows, press down the mouth and stretch it right out. So it's very long because that path name's not exactly short. And into that image location, that path name, we just copy and paste it. So grab it out of our PowerPoint here and go Control-C and keep Control-Ving it into the table all of the way down. And then it'll be like this. So we've just copied that path name, Control-C, Control-V, 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 pasting it with the Control key and pressing the letter V. And you can see there that we've got all of those path names in there for each of the dogs we're going to need. And the next step is that you add a backslash onto the end of here. So in here now we need to put a backslash, and then we're almost there. Okay, and then after that we put the name of the dog and .jpg. So to finish this one off and have a path name to where the picture is for Lenny the Labrador, we have to put a backslash in, then we type Lenny.jpg. And for Cindy here, we put a backslash in there, type it, and then put Cindy.jpg in there, all right? So we'll show you that on the next slide. So see here we've used all of the names of the dogs. All right, and we put just .jpg on the end because they're all JPEG files. And before you put the name, the dog name, you've got to have this backslash. Now, backslash is just located near the enter key on most keyboards, and you can just take that, get the backslash by pressing that. It's usually just up above the enter key towards the top right-hand corner of the keyboard. All right, so all of these dog pictures, Bessie, Cindy, all of those particular ones, not the members ones, but these circled ones, we've now got the path name and the name of the image all stored in our table, all right? So that's a bit of a job to do that, but it's mainly copy and pasting. And so we stored all those image locations. So save the table with that save button up the top left-hand corner of your screen and close the table, because that part of the lesson is finished. We've done that. We've got all of our things in a folder. We've got all of the image addresses and we've stored them in the table, and we're ready to move on. So about halfway through the 8 steps, actually, there's already space on the form where the image needs to be located. So we didn't actually have to shuffle things around and make some space. We made a folder and put all of our images into it. We Control-C, Control-V that file path name, and then we put all of the addresses of the images, we're using that path name, into the table in a new field called image location. So we filled up that field and we've done all that in the table. So we're up to the next step now, step 5, creating the picture box image container on the form and loading it with an initial image. So we need to make that picture box on the form, then we can use arrange, remove layout. to break apart the grouping so we can make that picture box big enough. And then the last step is just to link the picture box up to that table where we've got the addresses of all the pictures, okay? So that's going really well. So in the docs form, we need to have it opened up in layout view. So we just did all that work in the table and saved the table and closed it. Now open your docs form, you need to go on the design tab and make sure you're on layout view down the bottom right hand corner here, the middle one to be in layout view. And it's this one here, the picture of the mountains with the computer screen in front of it. This one is the picture box image. So these are tools here, and by default it's on the mouse arrow tool all the time, so you can pick and click and select things on the screen. We want to change over to this make a picture box tool. So you have to click once on that tool to activate it, but it doesn't do anything, all right? So you click on it and it's activated, but you won't see a picture box go on your form yet. So there's an empty part of the form down in here, and that's where the picture is going to go, all right? And so what you do is with the left mouse button held down, you made that active, that tool, and then you just hold down your mouse button and you kind of just draw a rectangle in that spot, holding down the mouse button, and then let go of the mouse button, and then the next thing will happen, all right? Or you can just single click on the form here. So if you've activated that tool and that tool is shown as active, just single click onto the form and then it should go to ask you for what picture you want in there. So it won't draw the rectangle yet, it keeps you in suspense. It takes you into the Windows File Navigator and you need to go to that form images, and we're just going to put, because this one is Nikita the Siberian Husky on this record we're looking at here, we're just going to get that picture and click on it and say OK. And you need to make sure this is on graphics files here, or all files is the other important thing. So sometimes you won't see your pictures and you go, what's going on? I can't see any of my pictures. It'll be because this might not be on the right sort of file type. So you need to use that down arrow down there. Just make sure it's on graphics files. And if that's not showing all your pictures, put it on all files and you should be able to see your pictures and get to them all right. Click the OK button and what'll happen? We get a really, really tiny picture box. It's so small. It's only down in there. Because remember in the previous lesson, we talked about these containers. When you make a layout view, so it can make all these line up beautifully exactly, it has all these empty container boxes stacked up inside the form, which we don't see in form view, but we can see where they are in layout view. So it's just decided to take the nearest container box and squash our picture box in there. What we need to do is we need to get rid of all of these container boxes. So we've got a big wide open space here where we can stretch that picture out to make it a decent size. Now, some people might be having a problem at this stage where their picture box isn't even showing. We've had this happen to students in our class. And what you need to do, if your picture box isn't showing up, if there's no picture in it, so you might have the box but no picture, just go to this little down arrow on Insert Image in the Design tab, okay? And then make sure it's not on web ready image files, it's on all files, and navigate to where your folder is to find that picture of Nikita the Siberian Husky, or your Siberian Husky picture. Click on it and then it should come in, okay? So if your picture box is empty, sometimes you have to do insert image. I don't know why, but my students have had this problem, but I've never had this problem, so I don't know, they might click something somewhere. But anyway, that usually fixes up the insert image one over here. All right, now those dotted line boxes, we can't delete them because we tried that in the other lesson. If you try and just click on these and press the delete key, nothing happens. If you right click them, you can't delete them. They're actually sort of like they're glued together in one big table of boxes. And what we've got to do is we've got to disconnect the whole table. We've got to ungroup all of those little container boxes so that then they're individual boxes so we can move around and delete. And we have to do this in design view, okay? This is something you cannot do in layout view. We'll find in this lesson, there is some things which are only available in design view. So we will have to change to design view. So we've got our baby tiny picture in there. We were on layout view in the middle here. You need to click down the bottom right hand corner on the pencil one, the pen and paper design view, okay? So you need to go into design view. Now, when we go into design view, we'll have all this grid and everything. Now, our form will be showing there. We're just showing you the top left-hand corner because that's where we need to get to. There's a tiny little symbol here, which you can hardly see when this form is full size on the screen, but it looks kind of like this one up here on the right-hand side. It's kind of a north, south, east, west cross inside a square. So it's kind of like a cross shape in a square. You've got to find that and click on it. And when you click on that, what will happen is every field, that whole table of containers will get selected. So this is actually showing you all those dotty white things we can see in layout view. If you find that plus symbol, you've got to find that in the top left-hand corner next to Rego number. Click on it. See, that's how tiny it is. You can hardly even see it. And you'd think they'd make it a really good bright color so it'd be easy to see, but they don't for some reason. Anyway, when you do click on that, it's going to select every single item on the form, including these empty ones that our little picture's jammed into. That's why it's little, because it got jammed into one of those. All right, so make sure you've got all of them selected in orange like that. And then in design view, will not happen in layout view, but you'll have the arrange tab, and you click the arrange tab, and there's an option called remove layout, and that's the one you want to click. So you want to click on arrange and then click remove layout. Okay, and that can only happen while you're in design view. You can try this all day in layout view, but there won't be, I think this is all grayed out and you can't use it. You've got to be in that design view to do it. Now, once the layout's removed, we can move boxes around individually, and we can delete them too. They're not all kind of stuck together in that giant design table setup. So we don't need to stay in design view anymore, I think. I think we can flip straight back to layout view. So once we've done that, remove layout, go straight back to layout view here. So don't stay in design view, that complicated kind of graph paper thing. Just go back to layout view, because this is the beginner's course, so we're supposed to be making it easy by doing everything in layout view. Now, when we're in layout view, you can see what's happened is suddenly, miraculously, all those little empty dotted boxes have vanished. They've been erased. They're gone. And now we should be able to grab the corners of these, or this bottom right-hand corner of the sides. We should be able to play stretches with that and stretch it. So you've got to click inside the picture box, make sure it's selected in orange, and then what you should be able to do is stretch it all out and make it a good size. So we're going to make it just fit in here. Now that we've got all that empty space, is really empty space there. There's not those empty design boxes anymore. And that's all good. So that's looking great. We've got all our things on our form and our picture. All right, now to move the picture around, you click in the middle of the picture and you get this kind of cross symbol. Now moving with the mouse, it kind of jumps around and moves all over the place roughly. So it's best to just kind of have it clicked active like this. And I find it's best just to use those kind of arrow navigation keys that are on the bottom right-hand corner of your keyboard. Just use those cursor arrow keys just to move it around. I find it easier to position it doing that. So that's about where we want it. That's the size you want it, and that's looking really good. So make sure you do a save at this stage. So click on the save icon up the top left-hand corner of your screen to save the work we've done so far. Now that's interesting what we did there, because we were on step 12 and suddenly we got to step 15 and 16. I'm not quite sure what happened there. I don't think we've skipped any steps because everything's working perfectly. All right, what I'll have to do is I'll have to fix that in the instructions. Let me make a note of that. Okay, the image is on our form, and if we change to form view, so get out of layout view here into form view, which is what we use for browsing records. The thing is, if you use that forward arrow and go like to record 3, record 4, record 5, like record 3 here is Coco the Brown Labrador, but that doesn't look like Coco the Brown Labrador. What you find is that picture you've put in there is staying on every single box on the form, because what we need to do is the next step where we're going to link those picture boxes up to the addresses of where the actual pictures are in the table, those addresses we stored in the table. We're going to link that all up, and then that should work. All right, so by all means go into form view and flick through and have a look, and you'll see that it's staying all on the same picture, which is not Coco the Brown Labrador. So we've got a bit more work to do. We've got to link that picture box to the image location. So where are we up to at the moment? We've done all of those things. We've created the picture box image. We've done step 5. We've done step 6 to design, view, arrange, remove, layout, and then we've resized the picture box. We've done step 7, so I've only got one more step to go. That's fantastic. This one right here using the data tab's row source. All right, so let's get into it. So we need to go back into layout view here, and we need to click on property sheet up the top on the ribbon to get the property sheet open. So make sure you're in design view. We've gone to layout view first down the bottom right hand corner. We've clicked on the design tab, the property sheet comes up, and we need to click on the property sheet, and we need to click on the picture too. So make sure you've mouse clicked on the picture, so we're doing the properties of the picture and we're not changing the properties of something else. So it's very important you click on the picture, so it's selected in orange, design and property sheet to bring up the properties of that picture box. Okay, so it'll say up here image 154. That's good. We know image means it's some sort of picture box. And on the control source, so you need to go to the date. So make sure first that you are clicked on that, all right, so that we're doing the properties of that picture. Then in the property sheet that we've brought up here, by clicking on it, we're not on the usual format tab, we're going to the second tab called data. So click on that, and it actually only has one option on it, which is control source. And so when you click in this box and get the down arrow, the control source of where we stored all the pictures, where their locations are, is in dog image location. You can see they're all the fields in the table, but we need on the form, they're all the fields on the form. Some are from the members table, some are from the dogs table. But we need the dog image location. We need to hook this picture up to the image location. So it's data, down arrow, dog image location, and then change straight over to form view, and we should be done. So we're going to use the navigation arrows and check out our records. And so how do you use the navigation arrows? Down the very bottom left-hand corner, down the bottom part of the form here. Remember we spoke about this in a previous lesson. This is the one that rewinds you all the way back to the first record. That's the go back one record button. That's the go forward one record button. That's the go right to the end button. And that little sunshine thing we won't be using today, but we used in another lesson to create a record. So we try out all these controls, these four with the arrows on them, to check out all of our dog records now while we're in form view. And this is what should happen. If we flick up to record number 9, we'll see Murphy, the wonder dog, my dog. So he's displaying on the screen, Murphy the Cocker Spaniel. That's all good. Here on record number 2, Dido the Jack Russell, and that is a Jack Russell. That's the correct picture there. Coco the Brown Labrador. That looks a lot more like a little brown Labrador, so we've got that right. D-Mac the Kelpie, he's showing up here. And Shindy, the cute little Dachshund, that's all good too, and a little jacket to keep her warm in the cold. So the dog images are all displaying perfectly, and we're getting the right dog onto the right record. So that's pretty much how you put an image on your form. You need to use a link to where the picture actually is inside a folder. Store that link in your table, get a picture box on your form, and then hook that picture box up to the link in the table so that it can go off into your computer's Windows system and actually find that picture in the folder and bring it onto the form and show it to you. So that's all wonderful. That's all magic. It took a few steps and was kind of a little bit tricky the first time you do it, but it's all good now and it's all working. Now, using the stretch mode on the images. If you'd noticed, you would have seen in one of the views, I think when we're in layout view, there's a little blue gap at the bottom of this, like this picture. It's very hard to make all of the pictures the exact same size, so they won't all fit in the box. So the idea is to go into zoom or stretch mode, okay, to make them fit the box. So zoom works well and stretch works well. We've said use zoom here, but it's pretty much the same. Zoom or stretch, they both work to fill up the box and make all the pictures the same size, which looks better. So make sure you do that. Now, because we've done that arrange and remove layout while we're in design view, we can actually move some fields around. So we're going to do some other improvements here. If you hold down the control key and just while you've got your left-hand hand pushing down that left-hand corner CTRL key, just keep it pushed down and go click, 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 click to get all of these selected at once. And then we can just use our little arrow fields just to push them across a bit. You can use the mouse, but the mouse tends to move things really quickly and roughly. So I find it's best to use an arrow key. So use the right arrow key, and we're going to just move all those across. Because see how they're bunched up right against these fields? That doesn't look good. There's no reason of all this room on the form for them to be so tightly squashed together. So what we're going to do is we just move them. You can see here we've moved them all across a bit. And it looks a lot better just having a little bit of space here, because there's kind of space there before the labels. And if we have a bit more space here, about the same size before the labels, it looks a lot better, okay? So now that we have done that remove layout in design view, you're able to do things like that. We can move things around. You can even move just one field at a time. And we had to like click on that and move it across a little bit as well with the arrow key just to make it fit in. So make sure, remember, you need to click that top left-hand save button to save the changes you've made to the form. And that will be that. All right, now that is kind of a finished members dogs form. So we've got the members dogs form we built in the previous lesson. We've got that picture displaying nicely. You would have noticed we had some other things on our form that we showed you at the start of the lesson. So look, this part here is kind of optional. If you've got this far and got pictures on your form and you're happy and that's all you really need to do, that's fine. You finish the dogs form and you can have a go at repeating those same steps for the members form, all right? But what is better is if you do these extra steps as well. So this is kind of a little mini extension inside the lesson, but we'd encourage everyone to at least have a go at these, at doing them, because it will make your form look so much better and professional. Now, on the other hand, this is a beginner's lesson, so people might be saying, well, you're showing us all this tricky advanced stuff that isn't really for beginners. Well, that's kind of true, yeah. So, we'd encourage you now, you've done a few lessons in our course, go for it, you can do it. I'm sure, we're sure you're good enough. So we need to go into design view this time. So we've still got our form open and we're going into design view, and all we need to do too, when you go into design view, you'll have to just mouse over these and get some double arrows and stretch all of this out a bit so it all fits in, because my design view seemed to be cutting off the bottom part of here and not showing it. So I just had to get my double arrows and stretch it all out and make it look good. And then that's, now this form footer, if that all stretches up and starts showing, just move it back and stuff. I think you'll get the hang of it and it'll be okay. So we're in design view at the moment. And on the design tab, these are kind of the tools that are available. And they're the ones kind of in layout view. In design view, there's a lot more available. And this background rectangle is not available in layout view. And that's why we've had to go to design view. But it is not showing up here amongst the first tools. You've got to click this down arrow. And when you click that down arrow, what will happen is this whole full toolbox will open up. And we want to get off that arrow key. So you click on this rectangle. That's what we want, the drawing rectangles tool. So you need to click onto that rectangle to change it off the default mouse click selector and onto this special rectangle tool, which we're going to use in the next step. All right, so we're in design view. On the design tab, hit this down arrow, that expands all of the tools. We want this rectangle one here, click on that so that becomes the active tool. All right, now the property sheet, you need to have that open as well at the far right of the screen. And when you're on the rectangle tool, the property sheet should now show that we're doing default rectangle. Okay, so we've activated the rectangle tool by clicking on it. If this doesn't say default rectangle, just go back and try and reselect that rectangle tool, because you need to make sure the selection type is default rectangle. And we're going to change the back style. At the moment it's transparent. We need to change that to normal. Okay, so click in this box and there'll be a drop down list and change that to normal. Now the back color we're going to choose for these background rectangles is this very dark blue down here. So in the colors we're using that dark blue. So you click in back color here, you'll get the triple dots, the dot, dot, dot button, the builder. Click on that dot, dot, dot button, like we've done in previous steps and lessons, and get that color there. So we're just setting up our rectangle, what color it's going to be and what style. And then when you move the mouse onto your form, you should see this kind of white rectangle of a plus sign. It won't be as big as this, but you won't see the kind of normal mouse arrow like we've got moving around right here, right now. The mouse arrow will change to this rectangle of a plus and it'll move around as your mouse selector. So we need to get in this top left-hand corner here and you push down on the mouse and you draw that rectangle over these boxes, on top of these boxes right here. And what will happen is it'll draw that dark blue rectangle on top of everything and you'll say, wow, well, hey, that's crazy. That's no good. Now we can't see all our member information, but we're going to move this to the back, put it in the background so that we can see the other things. So what you need to do is you need to right click on that and then this big pop-up list will come up and go to the one that says position and do send to back, all right? So that will send that rectangle to the background. And what will happen there is that will now be behind everything like that, okay? So that's kind of made our background rectangle. Now we're going to make another background rectangle for here. So all you need to do is, Access may have taken you off. When you're on your form now, you might have this arrow cursor because after you've done the rectangle, it usually turns the rectangle tool off and just goes back to this arrow tool. So you might have to go up to those tools and reselect the rectangle tool so that you're on it. Then you'll get that rectangle with the plus sign instead of an arrow for a mouse, and you can draw a rectangle here. I'm sure you'll figure it out. So we're making another rectangle on that side. And then we finished our design view work, making the rectangles and everything else, changing color of rectangles, resizing them. We can do all that in layout view. So we finished the design view work. So let's get back into good old layout view, this middle one. So down the bottom right hand corner, click that. So we're in layout view. Now in layout view, we're going to stretch this. It kind of looks funny that this one goes down the bottom and this one doesn't go right down the bottom. So if you move to here, you can get that double arrow selector. If you've clicked onto the edge here, so you've got that dark blue rectangle selected, and drag it down here. Also on the form, push these in a bit. We don't need all this empty space here. So we're going to get on the edges and push that in and push that in and pull that down. And the end result is that we want it to look like this. So we got two equal boxes and there's our picture down in that box. And that's looking really good. In fact, we're pretty much nearly finished. We just need to change the background colors of these guys. And also we're going to put a nice little kind of frame box around the picture as well. All right, so that's where we're up to, and hold tight because we are nearly finished with that dog's form. And it is really looking good if I do say so myself. All right, so hold down the control key and click all the member fields and then change the back color to light purple. All right, so we can actually change the background color of these data boxes. Instead of having them bright white, if you hold down the control key and go click, 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 so you're holding down that left-hand corner CTRL key, and while you've got your left hand holding that down, your left finger holding it, you go click, 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 click. So just these ones are selected. And then we can go to back color. Our back style should already be on solid, not on transparent. So that should be okay. And just go to your back color and get on your triple dots builder. And we're using this one here, this really light purple color, all right? Because we don't want the members to be as bright as the dogs because they're kind of secondary. The dogs are the main focus of the member dogs form. So anyway, sort out that back color so it's a light purple. And then we're doing the same thing here. We're just going control, click, 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 click. But this time we're making the back color a very light blue color, this makes this kind of like there's a light switched on saying these are the main things, and here the light's kind of set on dimmer, if you like, so that that's not quite as important, but it's still on the form. Very kind of subtle kind of things we're doing. And we're going to change the background color of the heading too. So this box up here for the heading, to get that whole orange box shown there highlighted, because there's a few different boxes in here when you click, but we want that whole box that includes the logo area as well. Now to get that, you have to click right on the edge in this area here. So if you click around the edge of that top banner, that top rectangle, you should be able to get it. And we're just going to change its back color with the triple dots builder, as always, to this dark blue color here. All right, now that color will hide the text because the text was also blue. It was dark blue, in fact, but that's okay. We're going to fix that in the next step. So don't worry if the heading has gone off your form. We're going to fix that up next. We're just going to get that nice kind of dark blue back color. And then where the text is, if you click twice in there, that'll become highlighted. Remember how we did this to change its size and that when we did the forms lesson? If you click once, twice in there, then you're in text editing mode. Make sure it's all highlighted and colored in. And on the Format tab, go to the Format tab and get on this letter A, which picks your text color. We just want that nice light blue color there for the text, okay? So I'm going to change that text to a light blue color. And the final thing we're going to do, before we even show you what happened when we changed it to a light blue color, is get this frame around the picture box. So you click on the picture box, and you need to change the border style. It'll be on transparent. Border styles for these sorts of things, this needs to be solid. So change that over so it says solid. And then this border width property will be on hairline probably. Change it so it's on 3 point. That's the thickness of the border. So we want a solid border that's 3 point thickness. And then we're also going to change the next field underneath that called border color. So the next job is click also while we're in that property sheet on border color, use your triple dots, and we're using this light blue color here, okay? So then we'll have all this. We've got our light blue heading and we've got our light blue border, 3 pixels or 3 PT wide around there. And that's looking great. I think that is pretty much our very professional looking members dogs form. Okay, and that's it. Now, if you have used different colors, that's quite okay, just as long as it's a good effect. The main thing is that by this subtle color difference here, we're kind of drawn into looking at the dog information because the light in those fields seems to be turned on brighter than the light is in these fields, okay? And then instead of using a bright white border here, we've used kind of a nice light blue one to just kind of blend it in and not make things jump out at you. And likewise, you could have used white writing for the heading here on dogs, but we've used a light blue. It just kind of tones everything down so it's not jumping out at you. And it's a lot more pleasant on the eye and a lot more pleasant to use if you have to use this database for a few hours every day. Okay, now in the downloads, that's another thing. When you get the downloads for this lesson, which only costs $3 US, if you're a teacher, we suggest you get these mandatory. We suggest it's compulsory. You get these for your students. $3 US gets you a site license for 30 students to have the step-by-step instructions, the images, and you can have the finished database. Don't give that to them. Make them build it themselves. But on the finished database, usually with our lessons, you get the finished database and you can run what the finished lesson should look like. Now, it won't run on this because, of course, all our paths, which you're going to get in the finished database, it's very doubtful you're going to have a folder called PW of ICT, MS Access. You won't have this folder path. You'll put them into a folder when you download them on your device, and you'll need to find out its path to that folder and put that in. So you're going to have to sort of do this table work first to get all the paths right. And so wherever you've put your folder on your computer, you need to remember, click in the top up the end here to get the path name, paste all that path name in, paste, do / and the name of the images. Then this dog image location is hooked into the picture box, so it should all work, okay? You should only have to change the table, all right, on the finished database, and then your finished database should start working straight away, and you can flick through and see pictures and show the students what it looks like when they've got a finished one as part of your lesson. All right, now there are some modeling images. These are some images we've done from Photos by Passy of some models that wanted shots for their portfolio. So we're actually going to give you those to use as member images. So you'll think, geez, these members, they keep going to the beauty salon and changing appearance all the time. And yeah, they do look slightly different to what they did in the other lessons, but that's going to be Alicia, Andy, Desiree, Nikki, Kylie, and Juanita. All right, so you've got some images for them to use on the members form. That's going to be part of the downloads. And you just follow the exact same procedure. You're going to need that path name to where you've put them in the folder. You're going to have to copy and paste that into your members table where it's got an image location in the members table, and then get a picture box onto your form. arrange and remove layout on it so you can expand it up. And that's kind of the members form we made. We just kept it simple, where we've made it long ways like this. And just looking at it now and thinking about it, you might be thinking, okay, well, you could have moved all these back because there's a lot of empty space there and made the form not as wide. But you've got to remember, people can have long email addresses, so that's the painful one. That's why we left that kind of long. But look, that's doing its job. It's got all the information with a picture, and the picture changes as you flick through to the picture of that member. So that's all good. Look, if you want to, you can rearrange it. You could put these fields down the bottom here and have a giant picture over there. If you don't like it long ways like that, that's fine, and feel free to play around with it. And that concludes the images and background rectangles lesson. So all we got to do is save the database. So remember, that's a matter of doing File up the top left-hand corner. Go to Save As, make sure it's an ACCDB database file type that you're saving. Click on your Save As, and then navigate to where your project folder is. So our folder was called L7 Member Images. So we just went to that folder and we called it SDC Form Images Finished, because that's our finished database. We've done all the work now, and hit save. So we've saved the final version of that database. If they access us about replacing a database that you saved previously, just say yes. That's the easiest way to get around that and save over the top of it. So the tables, we didn't add anything to them in this lesson. So if you're looking at your database, you should have all of the prototype 6 members and 10 dogs added in there. All we've done is filled in these image locations. So these aren't actually the current SDC tables. I just copied them from the previous lesson, but I just realized the member image and dog image locations, they're all filled now. So yes, I will have to change that as well. Let me make a note about this. All right, you can't get it perfect every time. All right, now where to next? There mustn't be much left to do. We created the database tables and put this test data in of this, working towards getting the 6 members and 10 dogs in the first lesson. Then we did the validation. You always need to do validation straight after you've set up your tables, not later on, because remember, validation will flow through to the form. And if you make the form first and then do validation, I think there are problems with the validation flowing through from memory. So it's always best to create the database and the tables, then put your validation and masking rules on. Then we did queries, then we jumped down and did reports. Then we made our basic forms and checked out that the masks and formats on them were okay. Then we did drop-down lists in the previous lesson. Then we added our pictures on in this lesson. So finally our forms are finished. Okay, so usually a screen form does take the longest thing to work on in the database to get it looking really good. So we've only got 2 things to go, so we're nearly all the way there. This is great. So next lesson we'll be creating the main menu switchboard, so you can click on there and go to all these different things and run a query or look at a form or produce a report. So we'll get all that happening, kind of a main menu that takes you off to everywhere to do all your jobs. And then the last thing will be creating that opening splash screen. So if you want to see all the courses, all the lessons, find out about downloads, go to Passie's World of ICT, the website, and MS Access SDC. That's where we are in the beginners Southern Dog Club access part of our website. So go there, and if you scroll down, you'll see all the lessons, and it shows you the order you need to do them in. So this is another lesson done. So give it a big thumbs up like, because it will have helped you out a lot making your forms professional with rectangles and images, and subscribe to our channel so that you will see when that next menu switchboard lesson comes out, making the main menu. And subscribe, and I think that's it. We'll see you in the next lesson.